Good afternoon, sir. Good morning, sir. Sorry.
Good morning, Kanika. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Kanika, you come from Haryana,
Yes,
and
sir.
your optional subject is political science and international relations. You
Yes,
have
sir.
graduated from Lady Shriram College for Women, Lajpat Nagar, with BA Honors. Political science was your stream, and this is your second attempt at the UPSC Civil Services
Yes,
examination. And your hobbies include journal writing and practicing pranayam.
yes, sir.
So, Kanika, let's start with a brief introduction.
Yes,
Tell me something more that is not covered in this draft.
yes, sir. So I did my schooling in OSDB Public School, Kerala. So as you rightly mentioned, my hobbies. Something that's not covered in my DAP is I'm sort of a Jubilean personality. From since beginning, I wanted to be a civil servant. I decided since my class seventh, and I started my efforts
Mm,
for the same.
mm,
Also, I'm an explorer. I like to explore things, and I also feel that I have a sort of a social bent of mind, and I
mm,
like to help people if I come close and if I get a chance to do so.
mm. Okay, good to hear that. Uh, Kanika, let's talk a few things around political science.
Yes, sir.
Have you heard about this term called electoral bonds?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me its significance in a democratic setup? Electoral bonds significance.
Electoral bonds are a medium to ensure that there is transparency. If people
Mm,
are contributing their contributions to the political parties, if we are doing it through a mechanism of electoral bonds, then there
mm,
can be a sort of transparencies how which all
mm,
parties are contributing, which all companies, which all organizations are contributing to which parties, and how much fund is
mm,
being received to a
mm,
particular party, and through which channels it can be monitored.
mm. How it improves the quality of a democracy? That's transparency with respect to the electoral process. But how does it democratizes the society?
So the electoral bond starts from around 10,000, and if a
Mm,
person wants to contribute to a party, then
mm,
every person has an opportunity. They don't have to or physical contributions are a little bit difficult. They can go to a bank and then deposit
mm,
it. So it
mm,
democratizes it in that way. Also, it breeds in accountability and transparency. That is also a democratize. That also presents a democratizing effort.
mm. Okay. Are you aware about the recent RTI reply around electoral bonds?
So I'm not aware of that. Sorry for that.
Okay, in India, can you highlight some denominations around electoral bonds?
I'm not aware of that, sir, but
Mm,
they range from 10,000 and then go up to 1 lakh, then further.
okay. So you have interest in political science and international relations. Maybe perhaps that was the reason why you opted for this optional subject.
Yes, sir.
How do you see the geopolitical mantle shifting right now? How do you see it?
Yes, sir. In the international sphere, sir,
Yes.
the geopolitical mantle is shaping very differently post-COVID, and then after Russia-Ukraine war. So,
Mm,
and before that also, we saw that after 2008 crisis, there was some disruptions in the geopolitical mantle. Before that, after 1990, when we sort of entered a unipolar scenario that seemed
mm,
to be breaking down now, and
mm,
with sort of an apolar world being established. And
mm,
then, if the aggressive China and the current stance in Russia-Ukraine war
mm,
and the recovery post-COVID is going to decide whether we are going to enter into a bipolar or a multipolar world. So it's a
mm,
world that is in transition if we take Kenneth Organsky power transition theory, and
mm,
is something that require more democratization. And if actors
mm,
like India come in, then the
mm,
geopolitical sphere will be more democratic and will have the
mm.
voice of the global south along with the other powers in the global sphere.
Okay, you see that in our neighborhood, a volatile situation has developed. Now, suppose that country dismembers. What should be India's response? How should India insulate itself from the nuclear threat?
So, are you talking about Pakistan?
Yes.
So there is a volatile situation because of their economic situation that they are going through. There is high rise in inflation. In
mm,
Pakistan, also the provincial elections and all are happening. So I think if there is a nuclear threat coming from Pakistan, India should ensure that the nuclear weapons are not falling into the hands of the non-state actors first,
mm,
and the global stage should be used. Also, there should be interaction with the Pakistani military and diplomacy, be
mm,
through direct talks or back channel talks.
mm,
Both should be used. And
mm,
secondly, I think the state should also be used, that it should not be going under pressure and developing
mm.
short range nuclear weapons and using them. Because
Should India revisit its no first use policy under such circumstances?
at the in the present stance, I don't think we need to revisit our no first use policy, because this presents the view of a peaceful nation. But if the
Mm,
security scenario engrosses, then taking the context in mind, we may think of
mm,
that. And presently, I
mm,
don't think we need to change the stance, because it also
mm,
increases the vulnerability against
mm,
China, which also has a no first use policy, and then
mm.
provides us balancing act with China on that ground.
Okay. Uh, so, Kanika, enough of political science and international relations. Let's talk few things around your hobby. Your hobby includes journal writing and practicing pranayam.
Yes.
So, uh, suppose you have to write something to your future self, what that would be.
To my future self, if I have to write, I'll imagine myself as an IAS officer, because
Mm,
I've imagined myself to be that. And
mm,
I write at present. I think that I'll be shining. I would like to do the work at most as possible,
mm,
and never be stopping. So I'll just write one mantra for myself, for my future self,
mm,
that it's unstoppable. Nothing can stop you, and have that
mm,
always in mind.
mm,
Always, even if you get about 50 years old, 60 years old, the youth
mm,
power or the youth within you should never go silent, and you should always carry that aura. Also,
mm.
learning is a lifelong process, and you should continue to be learning.
Okay. Suppose you are trying to implement one policy in one such district where you have been posted, and there is a severe scarcity of funds. You have written to the government on several occasions. There is no positive response, but the program has a wide social impact. If it is not undertaken immediately, it will have long-term ramifications. How would you resolve that crisis?
So as you said that the program is not undertaken, will have long-term ramifications, then it's necessary to have funds somehow, because if we don't put in funds into the program, then the previous success in the program will also be lost.
Hmm.
So I'll arrange funds. I'll send the application to the center government, state government.
Suppose you
Also,
have done
if
all of that. Suppose you have done all
I
of that. Hmm.
Okay, so if that does not work, that is not working out, then I'll contact first the state government authorities, the other organizations, say the corporations or the cooperatives that are there in the state government, if they can
Hmm.
sponsor something
Hmm.
in the district. If that
Hmm.
doesn't work out, then I'll go for some PPP mechanism or a public-private
Hmm.
partnership, and ensure that through CSR partnership and corporates
Hmm.
being involved in, there can be
Hmm.
some sort of the project is completed. And
Hmm.
thirdly, if that also does not, and there is a less funding from that as well, I'll
Hmm.
approach some NGOs and some organization that they can arrange funds for us and complete the program in the district. And
Hmm.
if there is a fund remaining and something needs to be worked out, then as well, fourthly, I'll go for public funding and public
Hmm.
pooling project and
Hmm.
ask people. Also, along with this, we can also approach the municipal committee for their funds, and
Hmm.
there can be a sort of a stakeholdership in the municipal committee also, and that can also be worked out.
Suppose your department is the public works department, and which was trying to implement the program, and suppose there is this tender seeker who
Yes.
says that he will say wholeheartedly commit to the funding requirements, and he will make the project viable in lieu of the tender which for which he has applied. And suppose you have exhausted all your channels, including public funding mechanisms, they all have flopped. And this is the only way out now to get funds. Will you say yes to that person?
So I think in government service, integrity is the foremost quality of a leader.
Mm,
And if I get into collusive bidding and provide some unnecessary benefits to that particular
mm,
tenderer, him
mm,
completing those requirements, I think it would be against my integrity as a government servant.
mm,
I'll be cheating
mm,
on people and will be increasing the tendency to falter in the
mm,
future in wake of
mm,
such tendencies. So I won't go
mm,
with that. If possible, if some one bidder is available, then I'll float a tender and ensure that there is competitive bidding and all other bidders are coming up and
mm,
approaching, and then the project is completed in the public work department
mm,
instead of giving or making that particular person qualify for the same.
mm. And Kanika, my question was, this person is not trying to pay under the table. He's making a proposal. He's making a proposal to the government that I will give funds to implement some other project for which you were trying to arrange funds. In lieu of that funding, you give me the tender for which I have applied. So these are two separate situations. And he's making an offer to the government. Don't you think, in the name of protecting integrity, you're completely sacrificing compassion, which is the foundational value of civil services?
I don't think I'm sacrificing compassion on that part because he's still
Hmm,
asking me to have him awarded that particular tender for which he
hmm,
has applied. There must be
okay.
some other competitive bidders for the same, and I cannot do that. That I support him in that particular tender. I have to go for fair and competitive bidding in all scenarios.
Okay. Good. Uh, Kanika, what is doodling?
Sorry, sir.
Doodling. Have you heard about this term, doodling?
Sorry, sir. I'm not aware about it.
Okay. Have you heard about Google Doodle?
Google Doodle, sir.
Yes.
Yes, they come on a daily basis. So Google makes a doodle and they are on it.
Okay. What was the
Searching.
last doodle? What was the last doodle in
So
the India
I
circuit?
related to so.
Related to the India circuit.
So I'm not really aware of it.
Okay. Any particular doodle which you remember
So I
related
think
to any female personality?
I'm able to recall, but I usually have a tendency to search the doodle when it's there on the search engine. I'm unable to recall it right now. So
Okay. How do you evaluate the role of a modern woman in the Indian society?
yes, I think so. The term modern women signifies a woman who is progressing, who has come out to work and is present in the professional sphere. But I would like to include all women of India in this term as modern women and their contribution to the Indian society. I think the
Mm,
modern woman has to push forth her decisions and be present for the decision. Secondly, be financially independent.
mm,
Thirdly, be clear about her choices and be clear about her decisions and be not be submissive to the factors in the society. And thirdly, I think the modern women has to just progress and create an inclusive society for herself, for her family, and
okay.
continuously acquire, be learning and progressing.
Mm. Okay, Kanika, if you have to choose one between these three options,
Yes, sir.
economic superiority, strategic supremacy,
Yes, sir.
and military prowess,
Yes,
what
sir.
would you choose and why?
Yes, sir. So I think I'd like to go for. I think I'd like to go for strategic supremacy.
Why?
And because strategic supremacy will ensure that strategically we are connected to the world. Also, we are aware of it, so there is no security dilemma stemming in for it, and that security dilemma is not bounding us or containing us in a particular sphere. And when it's not containing us, say there has always been an allegation that India, the nations try to contain India in South Asia. If we are strategically superior, won't be
Mm,
contained in South Asia, and that will allow us to develop linkages to the world, be economically superior,
mm,
be militarily more confident. I like to go with strategically, strategic defense.
Good. Thank you, Kanika.
Thanks a lot.
Kanika, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Kanika, can you tell me what is the meaning of your name?
Yes, sir. So Kanika comes from the word kana, which signifies atom, seed, and gold.
Okay, and if I break it up further, what does Kanak stand for?
Kanak stands for wheat, sir.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm unable to connect. I think Kanak is
Okay, your
very
date of birth happens to be 25th of November.
projections, GDP projections of November.
No, your date of birth is 25th of November, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what is this day celebrated worldwide as?
It is a UN Day for elimination of violence against women, sir.
Good. And do you recall of any celebrities also celebrating the same date of birth as yours?
No,
Especially
sir.
women?
No, sir. I'm unable to recall them.
Okay. Uh, have you read today's newspaper, Kanika?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Which headline do you think has attracted you the most and why?
So it was a Sunday's newspaper. So the page one of it was about China developing hydropower and sort of a submarine surveillance technology. So that attracted me. Second news which attracted me, and I had been reading about it, the migrant workers being attacked in Tamil Nadu. Also, the third point that attracted me about the mosque that is going to come up in relation to the Ayodhya verdict, and the plan for the mosque has been laid out.
Okay. Are you also fond of sports by any chance, Kanika?
Yes, sir.
Are you
Sorry.
fond of sports?
So I play normal sports. I'm not professionally or into sports.
Any particular news item pertaining to women's sports that attracted your attention today?
Yes, a WPL is going on, and Mumbai Indian won. Like it started its win.
Okay, good. Kanika, one thing I was a little surprised was your optional subject was political science and international relations, right?
Yes.
And in your service choice, IFS is your third choice. Why?
So I have been a political science student, but I think when I started and when I decided to take up political science, it was not because I wanted to be IFS officer, but because of the underlying choice to be an Indian Administrative Service officer. So thus I have put it as my first preference. And IPS goes to be a second preference because it again provides me with that diverse opportunity and with that administrative experience and to understand the political realities of India within India. And IFS goes on the third part because I do have a connect with the international relations, and if I get a chance, then I'd like to go for the service as well.
Okay, any reason why IPS is your second choice?
Yes, sir. IPS presents, it is connected to IAS. So the IPS officers are also working at the district level, at the ground level. Second, it is a police service and connected to law and order and has a very huge responsibility on their shoulder and is continuously on go. Thirdly, it provides a huge diversity and opportunity to work on ground and understand. And fourthly, I think so. Police service has an aura attached to itself, and that also attracted me to be a part.
Then in that case, why is DANIPS your 18th choice so low in your order of preference?
I had decided that I won't be going for provincial services, uh, and thus hadn't also written Haryana Civil Service or the provincial civil service examination, and that's the reason I've kept both DANIX and DANIPS at a lower preference in mind.
One thing which is surprising me even more is the fact that the Railway Protection Force service is even below the DANIX and DANIPS, which is a Group A service. Why so?
So for the same reasons that for the
You
same
said
reason
the police protection, the police services has an aura.
It has an aura, but I am not much aware about the setup of the railway police forces services. Also, I somehow kept myself away from it. I think my father said that you should not be getting into railway protection force services, and thus it was kept to be a lower preference. So it was more of me and him deciding that it should be going at a little bit lower preference.
Okay, you have been NSS volunteer in college.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me a few lessons that you have learned during your NSS tenure?
Yes, sir. So NSS goes by the slogan, not me, but you. So I think during my NSS tenure, I learned the lesson while interacting with the children that we need to put them at the very focus and be selfless and just soak ourselves up in their learning and ensuring that the work that we have come up for, we do that. I think the ambition of the more compassion, more empathy, more social service was engrounded in me through my year of NSS service.
In that case, do you think NSS should be made compulsory in schools and in the colleges?
So in colleges, it's sort of compulsory where students have a choice to either go for 1 year of NSS, NCC, or NSO, National Sports Organization. So it is there. I think there should be some tenure of, say, if not 1 year, then 6 months for college and school students. So I would agree on that.
Good. Thank you very much, Kanika.
Thanks a lot. Good morning, sir.
Good afternoon. Kanika, which article in the Indian Constitution guarantees freedom from all restrictions?
Freedom from all restrictions, sir.
Yeah.
So I think the fundamental rights in the Constitution come with their own exception, but Article 17 is the only article in the Constitution where it said that untouchability should not be practiced in India. So there is no exception to that.
I hope you are not getting my point. I'm just asking you specific article which guarantees freedom from all restrictions.
So I think
Spec-
there is no article in the fundamental rights which says that there will not be any restrictions on a person. I think we are balancing community rights as well as individual rights and the duty towards the nation. Then we are framing the articles of the Constitution.
okay. Why political science is science and history is not?
Why did I opt for political science and not for history, sir?
Why political science is science and history is not?
Yes, political science is science. It has its origins from Aristotle, and he said that political science is related to the functioning of the government. And when the government is functioning, it has to function practically and taking the scenario into account. Also includes the study of everything that the government has to take view of. Also the participation of people. So it has to be studied scientifically. I think history is not accorded the status of science, to my limited understanding, because history looks into the narratives along with the events which have happened in the past. So it is not secluded scientific study, but different narratives which are coming from different people, and then coupled with certain facts which have happened historically.
What is judicial overreach?
Yes, sir. Judicial overreach is when judiciary is going out of its sphere and presenting certain orders that encroaches on the sphere of the legislature and the executive.
Give me two examples.
Yes, sir. One example would be judiciary banning liquor in the highways. Also, second would be judiciary abruptly putting a limit of 100 cc, 1800 cc limit on diesel engines that they should not be developed by companies. And then the companies started developing about 1900 cc engines.
Are you aware of recent Supreme Court ruling on this? Can you
On what
mention that?
related to
Are,
judiciary.
Are you aware of recent SC ruling on judicial overreach?
No, sir, I'm not aware of that. Sorry for that, sir.
Acha, what is the device that reduces pollution? Can you name that device?
So the devices are smoke towers.
What is that name?
Smoke towers are there.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What are the two major problems in your state, Haryana?
Yes, sir. One major problem, sir, I take as agricultural dominance in the state. And second is that though the state is developing, there is a sort of regional inequality. And the areas which are not a part of NCR or connected to the Chandigarh metropolis have a sort of lack of development as compared to other areas.
Tell me within two words. First problem, second problem. Single word for the first problem, single word for the second problem.
One is agricultural dominance. Second is regional inequality.
How, as an administrator, will you solve this problem?
Yes, sir. Firstly, I'd increase the for the agricultural dominance. I'd increase the manufacturing in the other areas of the state, which are not a part of NCR and metropolis of Chandigarh. Second, I'll also ensure that the food processing industries are all and etc. are coming so as agricultural economy is transformed to the other part. Secondly, youth will be mobilized and they'll be trained for that so that they can enter into services and the manufacturing sector and start their own startups. Second, for the regional inequality, so I focus on ensuring that firstly, from taking from my first point, the agricultural dominance in those areas is abated, and then they are establishing a manufacturing center and service centered economy. Second, the youth there is trained. Also, they have good connect with the NCR region, so road infrastructure is developed in that region also. And the fourthly, I think ODOP Wondership One project, one product project is taken up there, and some kind of help is provided to the women groups and other groups, so as the grassroots entrepreneurship and village entrepreneurship and women entrepreneurship can develop in these regions.
Highlight two major problems of the district Kaithal.
Yes, sir. Kethal, as so I said, it comes from a sort of it gets neglected sort of because
Two
it's public.
problems, be brief.
Yes, sir. So two problems: investment not coming in the manufacturing sector and absence of CSR as a result. Second is a presence of youth unemployment in Kerala.
Rakhi Gadi in Haryana.
Yes, sir.
Why it is famous?
So it's the largest Harappan site. It is famous for that.
The other site in India, can you name?
So there are Banavali, Kalibangam, Dholavira, Lothal in India.
What is the difference between pranayam and vipassana?
So Vipassana is an extreme form of Yogasana where a person takes up is working, and then I think the person so it's I'm not completely aware of that, but for a period of say week or so, the person is completely silent and is not listening to the outside world and is listening to the inner realities or the inner voices. Is more in a contemplation mode, but pranayama is more focused on is a breath exercise. Also, it improves focus where you channelize the thoughts and focus on the inner self, but for a shorter duration of time.
Imagine yourself to be a secretary in the Ministry of Women and Child Welfare.
Yes, sir.
The first two measures will you adopt when you assume the office for the first day? Very short, very brief.
Very first two measures to adopt would be first.
The first
So
day, first hour.
yes, sir. I think first are as I enter the ministry, I'll organize some event where they'll be clapping for all the women personals in the ministry. So we'll be acknowledging their contribution to the ministry. Also, if possible, I'll send a direction with all the women personals or the honorary personnel. contribution to the department should be acknowledged. And second, sir, I think for the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, so I'm not able to get my second name. I think
What is feminist critique of state?
so. The feminist critic of state says that the state ignores the female perspective, and state has been formulated from the perspective of male-dominated world, and thus is non-inclusive of the gender equal laws and order.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Kanika, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Kanika, one final question. After that, we'll wrap up this interaction.
Yes, sir.
Apart from concentration of power,
Yes, sir.
what are the two biggest threats to liberty?
Yes, sir. So one is I like to take cue from Hannah Arendt here, and one would be the people being converted into masses and them not exercising the public sphere and the power to. And second is the presence of banality of evil in when people become neutral to the things, and also that can enter bureaucratical dominance. So that
If you have to summarize these two threats in one word each, how would you summarize them?
so I think one would be democratic weaning, and second is I think managerial bureaucratization.
Okay. Thank you, Kanika. Your interview is over. We will reconnect with you in some time for a feedback. Stay connected. Hello, Kanika. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Kanika, before we start this feedback session, let us understand why UPSC holds this exercise. See, aspirants call it interview, but UPSC calls it personality test. So the idea behind this exercise is to evaluate the personality of the prospective candidate. So what are the things that UPSC is actually looking for? First, whether you have decision-making ability or not.
Yes, sir.
Can you solve problems, especially under crisis situations? Third, what kind of values do you hold? Do you respect the Constitution? Do you believe in constitutional morality? All those kind of things. What kind of an approach you have in life? Are you inclusive? Do you have a liberal outlook towards world? Or you suffer from certain kinds of biases, prejudices, stereotypical thought, etc. Got it? The whole idea of this exercise is to ensure that once you're trained, you will become an asset for the administration. You'll not turn out to be a liability and become a roadblock in the path of delivery of social justice. Got it? The idea is to make you a part of the grand machinery so that the machine moves smoothly, the administrative machinery, and social justice, what is promised by the Constitution to the people, is delivered through governance. Got it, dear? So that is what you must keep in mind. It is not the knowledge component of your answer that matter here, because it is not the test of your knowledge. Your knowledge has already been tested. You have done well. That's why I've got this call for personality test. So every question that is thrown at you is thrown with the intention to uncover one or more dimensions of your personality. Got it? So let me start with the good things first. You are very polite. You were very decent. Some of your answers were excellent. And it appears that you're honest. And you are a thinking individual, which is the basic requirement in today's day and age. Your communication skills are excellent. So these things are going in your favor. But Kanika, I'm not much interested in talking about what is good, because what is good will remain good. Let me highlight those areas there where I think you need some improvement. Got it? You have this tendency of repeating the question.
Yes, sir.
Do not do that, dear. Got it? Because that unnecessarily kills your vital time. See, it would be a 30-35 minute affair. And in that, if you eat up 7 to 8 minutes, then the number of questions that would be asked to you would be less. Then the sample size would be lesser. And hence the evaluation would be based on that diminished sample size.
Yes, sir.
So you will unnecessarily put yourself in a disadvantageous position relative to your competitor. I hope
Yes.
you get that point.
Yes.
The same thing happens when you give very long answers.
Yes, sir.
I think you're still in the mains mold. You want to give a good introduction, then the meat of the answer, and then a final, say, a marvelous conclusion, which would have an imprint on the mind of the listener. Well, that's not the way personality tests operate, dear. See
Yes.
here, when the members they start interjecting when you are answering, it's an indication that the answer is terribly long.
Yes, sir.
Got it? And when they say be brief, it means it's an indication, and you must catch that cue that I
Yes.
have to be brief now. Very uh, precise, accurate, and brief. If you want to explain, like suppose somebody says, Kanika, what is your most favorite food? So you say your food, and then you say that, sir, if you give me an opportunity, I can explain why this is my favorite food. If
Yes.
they're interested, they would say yes. You want to say everything. What is the biggest problem in your state? Say, suppose poor infrastructure. Then you say poor infrastructure because there is lack of investment from. Nobody has asked you the reasons for it.
Yes, sir.
That could be a supplementary question. You are preempting it.
Yes,
So
sir.
that is problematic. Then, see, the last question, do you remember? I asked you concentration of power.
Yes, sir.
Now look at the question. It's a 2 to 3 second question. You are giving a 3-minute answer to that.
Yes, sir.
Concentration of power. What are the other two threats? See, whatever you choose does not matter. This is not a test of your knowledge.
Yes,
It's
sir.
how quickly you can respond, especially under stress situation. Suppose there's a natural disaster, terrorist attack, communal riot. Nobody would be having that much of patience to listen to such long statements. So be very precise there. Then, situational problems. You did not comprehend the question properly. When I asked you a question, do you recall that there is this person who is voluntarily offering to give money to the government? He is not paying bribe. He is saying, I will give money for the viability of that project. And in lieu of that, you give me the tender. Now, the
Yes.
second part is problematic, not the first part.
Yes, sir.
And you have to strike a balance between both. You can say that this will give me an opportunity, and I will throw that to the other members who have applied for the tender.
Yes,
You
sir.
can go for the Swiss challenge model. You can make
Yes.
it a clause. And in lieu, you can say, I will negotiate with the government on their behalf
Mhm.
that if they can get some tax holiday, if they invest in CSR,
Yes.
try to strike a balance. You cannot be an extremist.
Yes, sir.
It looks very good on the books,
Yes, sir.
but in the practical world, you cannot have that. And I said it will have long-term ramification. You close the door. Compassion is an important value. Yes,
Yes.
integrity, you must hold on to that. So situational decision making, I felt there was a kind of lacuna in that. Got it, dear?
Okay.
So think over it and give a balanced answer without compromising integrity,
Yes, sir.
rule of law, all those kind of things. Service choice. Terrible answer, Kanika.
Yes, sir.
Terrible answer. You know what kind of things you said? I'll just repeat them for you. Do not want to go for provincial services.
Yes, sir.
DANIPS. IPS has an aura.
Yes, sir.
Me and my papa decided.
Yes, sir.
Now you are a grown-up woman.
Got you.
You must own your decisions. Next day you will say, I and Chief Secretary decided. I and MLA Sahab decided. No, not like that. Right?
Yes.
See, and you said IPS has an aura. IFS doesn't? Which
Okay,
service
then.
doesn't have an aura?
Yes, sir.
And suppose in the board all are IFS officers. If the board is composed of IPS officers, that's paradise for you. But if it is composed of officers who are not IPS, and you say IPS has an aura and other officers does not, then you can understand that could go terribly wrong for you.
Yes.
See, for this question, dear, the best response is, so UPSC gave me a preference
Yes, sir.
to exercise my choices. This is one of my preferences, not the only preference. Having said that, I would be more than willing to work in any office in any part of the country, in any capacity. Got it? Leave
Yes.
it to the government. And if you see that you are not interested in provincial services, you should have written not opted.
Yes, sir.
There is a logical contradiction.
Yes.
Are you understanding, Kanika? See,
Yes,
this
sir.
is an evaluation of personality.
Yes, sir.
Then there was a question to you regarding judicial overreach.
Yes, sir.
You know, your response was, sir, I'm not aware about it. Sorry for that. Well, that's a good response. Recent Supreme Court ruling regarding judicial overreach. There was a question like that. And to this you answered, sir, I'm not aware about it, or I do not know it. Sorry for that. He said, well, that's a very good response, but it's an incomplete response. You should say that, sir, I will go back and definitely read about it.
Yes, sir.
That shows a learning attitude. Otherwise,
Yes.
it shows I do not know, I do not care.
Yes.
Got it? Then you said on several occasions, you said, I think, I feel. Now they show lack of conviction. These words show lack of conviction in your answers. You say, I believe. In my limited knowledge, use these kind of prefixes.
Yes.
Got it? I think, I feel, cut them down. I feel is means just could be an emotional trajection.
Yes, sir.
So then you said on several occasions, sort of.
Yes, sir.
I'm sort of that. It means I'm neither this nor that. I'm becoming something.
Yes, sir.
So now it is your burden to spot me on that spectrum of becoming. Where am I? Now you're putting the onus on the member. I'm neither that nor this. I'm sort of. Cut this sort of. Have you
Yes.
seen any government letter using these words? Sort of.
No, sir. No, sir.
Your best answer was the strategic supremacy that you gave. That was wonderful because you balanced both the things very appropriately. See, Kanika, our aim is to help you to go into the final list. Today is the day of committing mistakes.
Yes.
That is the day of performance. So you should take this feedback in the positive spirit because realization is the first step towards improvement. There are so many positives that you hold. Most important thing is you are a female candidate. And UPSC encourages the participation of women in administration. Just look at the number of IAS officers, IPS officers, female officers in India. They are a handful. Why?
Yes.
Because very few female candidates reach up to this position where you have already reached. So you have come so far, dear. Do not throw this opportunity away.
Yes, sir.
Got it? So listen to the question very appropriately. Think over it. You have excellent communication skills. You organize your content very well. And you have a very powerful DAF. You come from Lady Sri Ram College, which is a reputed university. You have good hold over your hobby section. So all those things are going in your favor. But the cadre answer
Yes, sir.
or the service answers showed as if you're biased towards certain services.
Yes, sir. I'll improve on that, sir.
Got it, dear. So that is the feedback. So if you have any questions, you can ask me now. And after that, I'll disclose your score.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, for the factual questions, like you asked me about doodling, Google Doodle, which I may have come across.
Hmm.
Also, the celebrities on my body, 25th of
Yeah.
November, I researched on
Hmm.
that. Also, sir, one of the honorable member asked me why political science is a science and not history is a science.
Hmm. Hmm.
So for the previous two questions, I refused. So I had no understanding or
Hmm.
no idea
Hmm.
about them. Also, I could not remember a Google Doodle
Okay.
related to me. Then
Okay.
about the political science and history question, how is it?
Hmm.
Like,
Okay.
how
Kanika, you answer this question. We want calculators or officers. What do you think? We want machines or people, actually thinking people? What kind of candidates we want into the service?
thinking
Machine thinking people, right? So if you fail on facts, there is no problem in that. And when you suppose you say somebody asks you, So Kanika, what about the RCB female team? Who are the members? You say, sir, I have no idea. Then suppose the next question is, what is the total squad size? RCB female team. Who is the coach? Suppose these questions are being thrown one after the other. And you say, no, sir, I don't know. Well, the idea is not to extract an answer from you, but to see
Yes.
how do you respond under stress, especially when you are short on facts. There would be
Yes.
several situations when your seniors will call you for certain reports and you do not have the requisite facts at your hand. How
Yes.
do you respond under that? You say, I'll go back, I'll check on that. So there were so many doodles. And you said that I have this habit of going and reading about them. You stressed the issue.
Yes, sir. I a bit stressed the issue. I should not
Got
have
it?
done.
But if suppose there is a question that what do you think where India and China relations are heading? Now that's an opinionated thing. You must have your opinions.
Yes.
Opinion based questions, decision based question, you cannot fall in there, or DAF related question.
Yes.
So when political sciences, science history is not, well, they both are part of social sciences at least.
Yes, sir.
You can start something like that.
Yes, sir.
And historical sciences research center, have you heard about them? There are so many
Yes.
historical science research centers all over the world.
They are, sir, but I could not get.
Then
Yes.
it's also a science. It's a
Yes.
social science. The political science is also a social science.
Yes.
But there could be another perspective to that. So the idea is to see your perspective,
Yes.
not the perspective.
Yes, sir.
Got it? So it's a subjective experience. So failing on facts, no problem at all. Failing on opinions, failing on situational decision making, failing on things that are provided in the DAF is problematic.
Yes, sir.
See, there would be three categories of questions. First, DAF related, 80 to 85% falls in that group. Second would be current affairs to check your awareness. Say
Yes,
the
sir.
rest 10% fall into that group. And the last 5% would be situational, where you would be placed in the role of a DM, SP. Like somebody said that if you are the new president of India, like one of the honorable members asked you if you are the secretary to the Women and Child Ministry.
Yes, sir.
First hour decision making, and you were just gasping for breath, at least when you were thinking about the second point. You said, right now I cannot think about my second move. और पहला मूव आपने क्या बताया? सबको ताली बजवाएंगे कि हम आ गए.
नहीं, yes, sir.
Appreciating them. Well, that can be done even before office hours.
Yes, sir.
Why to waste working hours
Yes,
in
sir.
appreciation? Do you get my point there?
Yes, sir. I got your point.
Or during the lunch break,
Yes, sir.
utilize. You are disposing public money. That's a big responsibility.
Yes.
फिर तो सबका बर्थडे भी मनाया जाएगा ऑफिस में मेरे हिसाब से. Okay. Anything else?
Nice. Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay. So Kanika, based on today's performance, and I have highlighted you the areas where you need to work. The board has awarded you 160. Got
Okay,
it?
sir.
But Kanika, if you work on these areas, you will cross 180 at any cost. That would be a bare minimum, I think. And if you cross, you are only 20 marks short. If you
Yes.
cross 180, I have a hunch you're going into the Indian Administrative Services. Even with this marks, you can get selected. But if you cross 180, then there is a strong possibility you will go into Indian Administrative Services, which is your preferred choice. This is your second attempt, right? Make this your last.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All the best, dear.
Thank you.